beautiful thing, right now.
Rise and shine, it's a beautiful day. I'm alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to white lights.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump. I am your host, Jose Galison. 8/8, August the 8th. I'm with you all today. Beautiful Friday morning. I've got my run in. I've worked out. I don't know about you guys, but if you haven't, you should. Maybe, I don't know. It doesn't have to be that. Go pick up a book. Go do something. Go make something yourself. Go to work. Go do something. But do something productive. And I hope you guys are having a productive morning. And glad to have you guys with me. Let me know if I'm sounding good, looking good, all of that. We have some stuff to go through. While I wait for the class to roll in, let's watch a video or two. I think maybe we'll do two this morning. Here's one I just rolled across just now. Actually, let's do the other one first. Let's do this one first. This is, let's dig it. Well, I guess we'll do a video and a little bit of a story. Normally we keep just a video, but we'll have a little bit of fun. We'll goof off while we wait for more people to roll in. This is an old video. It says in 2009, it says 21-year-old Gabriela Rico Jimenez was filmed after claiming she had attended an exclusive elite party. She vanished that night and has never been seen again. Did she know or see too much? So I don't know. Is this bullshit? Could be. I mean, this also sounds like, while this is my area of research, it's also something could just be bullshit. So there are crazy people in the world. Let's see what this broad has to say. It says they ate humans. Disgusting. They ate humans. It's another. I'll give it a. I'll go ahead and add it. It probably gives a little bit of an additional knock for me. It's not even in a language I speak. So for all I know, this could be somebody lying to me and putting completely different subtitles here. But it says disgusting. They ate humans. It says I wasn't aware of anything. I mean about the murders, yes, but that they had eaten humans. Humans. They smell like human flesh. Okay, and I think one of you guys tagged me in this. That or was just I thought this was interesting. Now then, whenever you have one of these like viral weird posts online, then there's always the people who put the little stories in it here. So here's Learn with Clara, put the full story. So obviously I am in no way backing the verifying this is legit. You guys let me know. Who knows? Maybe you guys know I've heard about this before, or you can look up stuff to verify this. But this is just some Twitter stuff. So it says right here, the mysterious case of Gabriela Rico Jimenez is one of the most chilling and unresolved stories to emerge from Mexico's modeling and elite party scenes. I don't know why I was struggling with that. In 2009, Gabriela, a young model from Chihuahua, was seen attending a high-profile party in Monterrey, allegedly connected to the prestigious elite model agency. This wasn't just any party. It was said to be an exclusive gathering filled with powerful businessmen, politicians, and possibly a member of organized crime. What happened that night has sparked endless speculation and conspiracy theories ever since. A few days after the party, Gabriela appeared in a shocking and now infamous video filmed outside a hotel in Monterrey. In the footage, she's seen barefoot, distressed, and rambling incoherently about global elites, satanic rituals, and human sacrifices. She claimed that world leaders, including former U.S. President George W. Bush, were involved in secret ceremonies and spoke of eating children. Her words were disjointed but carried a sense of frantic urgency, as if she had witnessed something deeply disturbing. Police eventually took her away, dismissing it as a mental breakdown. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Gabrielle Rico Jimenez was never seen again after that incident. There were no official follow-ups, no hospital records released, and no confirmation of her whereabouts. Her family remained silent, and the authorities offered no clarity. It was as if she vanished off the face of the earth. The silence only fueled public suspicion and theories that she had been silenced because she saw or said too much. Many believe Gabriella was a victim of the darker side of the fashion and elite social world, where young models are allegedly exploited and trafficked, blah, 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 blah. Okay, is there anything, let's see if maybe there's anything of value so far as whether it's legit or not. Look, there's Grok. Is any of this credible? Let's see if this is, okay, well, here's the Grok. Is this real? The standard that you get in these two. So let's find out, is it real? According to Grok, obviously. Who knows? You also then need to verify that as well. But anyways, 2009 video of Gabriela Rico Jimenez's outburst outside a Monterey Vit hotel is real, showing her in distress, accusing elites of cannibalism and rituals. However, there's no evidence she attended an elite party or witnessed crime. She was likely experiencing a mental health crisis, detained and treated at a psychiatric center. Her disappearance lacks official confirmations and appears exaggerated in online conspiracies. Yeah, that's what I want to know. I want to see like a news story or something from family, or especially dated around that time. But I've seen nothing. So you do, I guess whatever. I mean, this is an interesting story, but I don't know. Let's see. I'm scrolling through here, seeing if there's anything at all. I'm not seeing anything on this one. I'll be honest, this one seems like bullshit to me. Go ahead and let's see, here's another Grok, what happened to her. See if there's anything more on that. It says she hasn't been seen since. No evidence confirms her. This is another Grok thing. No evidence confirms her supermodel, fate unknown. I'm going to go ahead with, I honestly lean towards this is probably bullshit, to be completely honest with you. But I don't know. It could be legit. I mean, I guess it's believable, but they make it seem like she's some supermodel. There's nothing. Just scrolling even through this viral tweet. This got almost 10,000 likes. Over 250,000 people saw it. You'd think someone would drop the article or something. So I don't know. That's not obviously proof that's bullshit, but just thrown out there. Don't always believe everything. Maybe apply a little bit more of a critical eye. But I do have one more for you guys. Let's look at the chat. Make sure my audio is sounding all good. Make sure no one's complaining about the audio. Okay, cool. Not seeing any audio complaints before we move on to the next video. Yeah, I gotta go with, I think that one's bullshit. Sorry, guys. Who knows, though? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's completely legit. If anyone does dig into that more, feel free to tag me in it, and I will make a correction, say, I was wrong. No, that broad clearly was some crazy satanic something or other nonsense going on. But all right, here's another video. I found this literally just before we started, and I was kind of blown away by it. Although I don't know what to make of it yet. I still kind of digest what's being said here. But here is from Maha Action. This is RFK Jr. So I'm just going to play it first, and then I guess we'll kind of try to figure this out together. See, I think I get what he's saying, but I'm like, this seems too nuts to me. But I don't know, whatever. Let's go and play it.
Right now, we're developing a universal vaccine. Right now, we're developing a universal vaccine at NIH, which is a vaccine that addresses the entire phylum of viruses. And so it's a vaccine that mimics natural immunity. And it is effective against any kind of mutation. So it doesn't drive the virus to mutate. And it could be effective. We believe it's going to be effective against not only coronaviruses, but also flu. And it's going to be a much safer and much more effective vaccine.
All right. So I guess just second time going through that just now. Yeah. Sounds like what they are literally saying is what it sounds like they are saying is that I guess the idea is to get rid of, I mean, I don't know. He says a universal vaccine, an entire phylum. Now, I don't know enough about the biological classification of viruses and phylums and families. No, families is what, like, big. That's like isn't it like mammals? It's like when you get to that high. So I don't know. I think phylum is like below. Anyways, I'm not even going to try to recall. So what that means. So when do they mean an entire phylum? Like, what are you meaning? Like all of the coronaviruses, or does that just mean all viruses? Like, do all viruses fall under a phylum? Or I believe viruses would probably be a family, like a biological family. Like that would be the classification, which would be larger than phylum, I believe. Anyways, point being, either way, some sort of large sweeping vaccine that I would assume is supposed to cover either a broad spectrum of currently existing vaccines, or it might even be implying all of the vaccines here. That's why I was kind of hedging what they mean by family, like by the phylum or whatever, because it's like, are they literally? They might literally be meaning. I might just be retarded and like they're saying in smart speak, so I don't get it. But they may just be literally meaning a vaccine for everything. Now that sounds ludicrous. So when they say entire phylum, I feel like maybe just like all the different types of coronaviruses. But he's also talking about flus as well. Although I don't even think a flu is, I don't think that was one of the. So anyways, I'm getting too much in my head about thinking about what this is. But either way, it sounds like, I don't know. It sounds like I don't believe you. That's what it sounds like. It sounds, I don't know. Once again, maybe the smart, big, pointy heads out there go, oh, no, this is legit. This is, who knows? Maybe there's some nerds out there say this is what we've needed for a long time or whatever. I guess that in a certain sense, I can kind of wrap my head around how, like, if you are comparing the concept of having like 30 different vaccines or just one, I guess it'd probably be better. Although it makes me a little bit concerned about like the concept of is that one would cover all 30 things. I don't know. I'm not an immunologist. I come to me skeptical. That's all I'm gonna say. And I've been very unimpressed with RFK. So even more so, I believe this gets colored with skepticism. I don't know. You guys sound off of the chat, but I think my buddy Jacob here kind of colors it correctly in kind of where I'm at. He says there's clearly nothing wrong with this. After all, it's the red team saying it, and they hate blue team like I do. So obviously they wouldn't lie. Take that, liberal snowflakes. But yeah, I don't know what to do. I mean, who knows? Maybe this is the better path. I don't know. I'm inherently a little bit skeptical about all that, but either way. Either way, guys, let's roll through the chat, say our good mornings, check in with y'all. What's up, people? Good morning, Andrew Jacobs says good morning, better looking lisp guy. Good morning. Good morning, Tom33 says what's good, my coons. Good morning, King David. He says it's dump time. Fuck yeah, it sure is. Good morning, Alien Big Cat 23. He says sapnin. Good morning, Real John Doe. Good morning, Tucker Delay. Good morning, Eddie Grimm. Good morning, Hustle Bones. Good morning, Queen Calnads. Good morning, Ray Cancer. I feel like that's a new name, so that's fun. It's always nice having new people here. All right, guys, let's go through some foreign policy. Let's start off with Netanyahu's confirming he's planning full Israeli takeover of the Gaza Strip. I believe we reported yesterday about all the plans. I believe at that point it was just like kind of reports, although they were basically official at that point. But we've got the full-on confirmation now. Netanyahu confirms he plans full Israeli takeover of the Gaza Strip. So Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu confirmed in public comments on Thursday this goal for Israel's next military offensive in Gaza is a takeover and full Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territory. He claimed he doesn't want to keep Gaza and that Israel would hand over the territory to the unspecified Arab force. But the Israeli military plans include the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian civilian population of Gaza City and Gaza's central refugee camps with the goal of driving them out of the Strip entirely. We intend to control all of Gaza. We don't want to keep Gaza. We want a security perimeter. We want to hand Gaza over to Arab forces that will govern Gaza properly, Netanyahu told Fox News. In another interview, Netanyahu said Hamas and the Palestinian Authority couldn't govern Gaza and that the Israeli military would be responsible for overall security, meaning Israel would maintain a tight grip on the territory. We will never hand Gaza over to the Palestinian Authority or Hamas. We will provide overall security. There will be a security perimeter provided by us, he said. Netanyahu's plan has faced resistance from the military since heavy Israeli troop casualties are expected. and the Israeli captives in Gaza will likely be harmed or killed during the offensive. Thousands of Israelis are protesting against the planned escalation, and the families of the hostage are calling for a diplomatic deal to free their relatives. Yeah, there was a few. Let's watch actually a few of these. There's a few. I have a few clips of some of the stuff Netanyahu has said. Oh, actually, I'm wrong. This one wasn't a clip. This is one of the ones I took a stupid still picture. But let's move on to the next one. Here is him talking about the New York Times, I guess in regards to their reporting on the atrocities going on over in Israel. So let's go ahead and play this.
The way that it's presented, unfortunately, in the New York Times and others, New York Times should be sued. I'm actually looking at whether a country can sue the New York Times, and I'm looking into it right now because I think it's such clear defamation. I mean, you put a picture of a child that's supposed to then represent all these supposedly starving children, yet they put in this picture of a child who has cerebral palsy. Then they took another picture somewhere else in other media, a child who had cystic fibrosis, got nothing to do with starvation, or another child that we actually sent to Italy to be cured. And Israel is accused.
But still, you concede there is suffering on behalf of people
suffering
in Gaza.
Yes, because Hamas is interdicting aid, exactly. And what we're doing is overcoming it. I don't deny that there's suffering. I want to end the suffering. And I want to end it by ending Hamas rule. Would you like to end the way that it's...
So this is him bitching about, claiming he's looking into suing the New York Times over particularly the starvation article that we talked about in the show, that I guess there was... one of the children had, not cystic fibrosis. That was another situation he was talking about there. God, whatever. I can't think of it. Dystrophy? No, it was muscular dystrophy, I think, or something like that. Either way, one of those ones, there is a little bit of muscle wasting, and so you do kind of have an odd shape. But I'm pretty sure there was, like, in that same article, I'm pretty sure there were other they referred to this outrage about this one specific kid. I believe there were other photos in that thing, if I recall correctly. So it wasn't even the only starving child photo that was in that, if I recall. And on top of it, also the article refers to other children. And I think it was just their complaint was that it just wasn't specific enough that then when they did put I guess it wasn't even a retraction, it was a note later, because I don't believe that deserves a retraction. It makes sense to put in a note of, one of our different photos here, that kid has this situation, especially considering the situation. I'm sure it probably even said it in that article that the first people that have issues whenever you have these starvation campaigns are the people that have conditions. So it makes sense that when you're doing an expose on starvation and one of your photo subjects and probably people you're interviewing, kind of what's going on, that one or multiple of them are going to be individuals afflicted with conditions. Totally makes sense. So anyways, but it's kind of just a ludicrous, if anything, it's just really, really, really gross that the Zionists leaning into this specific angle of this really, really, really tiny minutia, because then it becomes this journalistic integrity thing where they're like, oh, well, you should have issued a full retraction or something. I forget the hold up. It was just that they were upset that it didn't, in the initial article, there was nothing, and then later they put in a note of no, this child has whatever. So anyways, let's move on to the next one from him. Let's watch this. All right.
Immediately, you will go immediately into a meeting with your security cabinet. Will Israel take control of all of Gaza?
We intend to, in order to assure our security, remove Hamas there, enable the population to be free of Gaza, and to pass it to civilian governance. That is not Hamas and not anyone advocating the destruction of Israel. That's what we want to do. We want to liberate ourselves and liberate the people of Gaza from the awful terror of Hamas. And you were in the Gaza Strip today. You met Palestinians who are fighting Hamas because finally they see that they have a future. They can rid themselves of this awful tyranny that not only holds our hostages, but holds 2 million Palestinians in Gaza hostage. That's got to end.
All right, so once again, trying to position themselves as the liberators. I think it's pretty obvious to everyone how disgusting this really is. All right, let's take a moment, roll through, check in with you guys. Good morning, Adrian Brody. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, say what now? Real John Doe says, I see Netanyahu is stating they'll boycott any country that recognizes Palestine as a state. Yes, I've heard of that, so I don't know. We'll see where that goes. Adrian Brody saying supposedly starving. What a ghoul. Yep. Good morning, Northside, California, 707. He's saying terrible, terrible Hamas. The oppressor must be liberated. Yeah, imagine a terrorist calling other people terrorists, says Real John Doe. All right, let's get back into it. All right, and then with this, the backdrop of all of this, another, I guess 100, but it's 98. 100 just like just easy rounding up a number 100, but it basically 98 people died in Gaza over the past 24 hours. This time 51 were aid deaths, so that's the recent. So, despite, we want to liberate them, but we're going to murder them in the basically pretty much triple digits every day. So that's the consistent trend here. Also, we have this leaked cabinet transcript reveals Israel chose to starve Gaza as a strategy of war. So here we go. Israel decided to starve the people of Gaza as a strategy of war and in order to sabotage the ceasefire deal, according to Israeli cabinet meeting minutes leaked on Wednesday to Israel's Channel 13. The document purports to show that Netanyahu refused multiple proposals that would have secured the release of the remaining captives during the ceasefire between January and March 2025. Netanyahu decided to break the ceasefire against the advice of top Israeli military and security officials and to cut off all aid to Gaza to force Hamas to surrender, the leak shows. The Israeli cabinet's meeting, dated March 1st, was to discuss the fate of the ceasefire with Hamas as the first phase of the agreement was set to expire. The prospective second phase of the ceasefire was supposed to see the beginning of the talks on the permanent end of the war. The minutes released by Channel 13 show that Army and intelligence officials argued for concluding the ceasefire deal while cabinet ministers opposed it. Major General Nitzan Elon, the Israeli army official in charge of prisoners and missing persons, repeatedly argued that the only opportunity to release the captives is to discuss the conditions of Phase 2. While Ronen Bar, the chief of the Israeli Internal Intelligence Agency, the Shabak, said that his preferred option is to move forward with Phase 2, saying that Israel could easily return to war later. Let's get everyone back first, then resume the fight, he reportedly said. The minutes also revealed that a senior Israeli security official told the ministers that it is possible to secure the release of more captives, but that requires engaging in talks about Phase 2, ending the war. The government, however, led by Netanyahu, rejected the proposal. He was backed by Israeli Minister of Strategic Affairs Ron Dermer, who reportedly said that Israel was not prepared to end the war while Hamas remains in power. Dermer, who supports Netanyahu's hardline position in Gaza, was named by the Prime Minister as head of the negotiating team in the ceasefire talks. Also backing Netanyahu's refusal was hardline Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, who lashed out at military and intelligence officials, insisting that they were misleading the public into thinking Israel could stop the war and return to it later, which Smotrich regarded as ignorance. For his part, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz supported a partial deal, saying that if Hamas returns even a number of hostages, less than half, it's excellent. March 18th, Israel broke the ceasefire by launching a wave of bombings on Gaza, killing 400 Palestinians, mostly civilians, in the first minutes of the onslaught. Israel also announced the complete closing of the crossing points, causing an immediate drop in available goods in the strip and cutting off the entry of humanitarian aid. The continuation of the blockade caused the spread of severe hunger, which UN agencies have qualified as famine. UNICEF has called the deaths of Palestinian children due to starvation unconscionable. Crap, didn't mean to click on that. All right. Okay, that's basically the sum of the article. Now, I do want to point out that essentially what it sounds like is I think they were trying to get some sort of the deal here was the contention was that they wanted to move forward on Phase 2. And the thing about Phase 2 is that was a guarantee of, I believe, a kind of essentially a withdrawal and essentially a permanent ceasefire. But meanwhile, they're behind the scenes saying, don't worry about the permit. It's just like, we'll go back to it, but we want to get our hostages back. We'll just lie to them. So it's like, don't get me wrong. Like Netanyahu also then chose like, oh, we'll just like, so part of the crux of the story was that the starvation was intentional. But it's also funny. It's like, it's not don't think of like his detractors as they were heroes either, because they're still trying to engage in like incredibly duplicitous behavior. So, but either way, this is Israel chose to starve Gaza. This is literally part of the strategy. They've said this explicitly many times, and we keep covering articles of that ilk. All right, I have a super mega based video of MTG to play for you guys, and then we'll cover a story kind of on the foreign policy front in regards to her. But she's crushing. Let's watch this. This is her on Matt Gaetz.
Honest, because I think you really diagnose things well ahead of time, and you are concerned about the Republican Party betraying some of the values of America First that President Trump ran on, and that you've really been a standard bearer for in the House of Representatives. And in lieu of that, we got to talk about AIPAC attacking you, sending out fundraising emails saying that you are not acting in the interests of our country. Marjorie Taylor Greene, your reaction to AIPAC's fundraising emails attacking you?
Yeah, Matt, I'll go ahead and be straight and honest about this. I'm absolutely furious. And as a matter of fact, AIPAC needs to register as a foreign lobbyist because they're breaking U.S. laws by donating to members of Congress and by taking them on a fully funded trip to Israel every single freshman member of Congress's year. They just took them over just recently and had them meet with the Prime Minister of Israel. But let's frame that correctly. They take them over to meet with the secular government of nuclear-armed Israel. Israel, who is in less than $400 billion in debt. Israel, who has taxpayer-funded health care and college. Israel is not hurting, and they've already proven that they are more than capable of not only defending themselves, but annihilating their enemies to the point of genocide. And that's what's happening in Gaza. And Matt, the reason why AIPAC is attacking me is because I dared to tell the truth. Well, Matt, you and I are good friends. We served together in Congress, and you know that I have taken zero money from AIPAC. As a matter of fact, I am so unapologetically American. I have a sign on the door of my office that tells all lobbyists, foreign lobbyists, to stay out of my office and that they have to follow the law. They have to follow the law and register as a foreign lobbyist and be clear about what country they represent, because I represent America. As a matter of fact, I've been saying America first for a long time, but I'm getting to the point of saying America only. And I'll tell you why, Matt. It's because pretty much if you're under the age of 40, you have no hope for the future. We're $37 trillion in debt. People can't afford to buy a house. They can't afford rent. They can't afford insurance. They can't afford their bills. And we have HB1 visas stealing all these American jobs. And I'm sick and tired and fed up with it. So if AIPAC, who donates, by the way, to more Democrats than Republicans, as a matter of fact, they're all for Democrats, but they do donate to Republicans as well. But listen, if AIPAC wants to come after me and accuse me of betraying my American values, AIPAC, you know what? You can bring it on. I am totally ready for this. And this is a fight that I will fight, and I will give it my all. And I can guarantee you, you're going to lose, because America is fed up, Matt. They're fed up to here with funding foreign wars, funding foreign causes, funding foreign countries for foreign reasons that have nothing to do with Americans, while Americans work their ass off every day and pay their taxes and come home and they're living paycheck to paycheck and their credit cards are maxed out. I don't care anymore. I honestly don't care. So I'll burn this bridge to the ground and I will let the flames light the way, and because this is a fight that needs to happen.
If we were still in Congress, I would just say I associate myself with the
All right. Well, she just crushed, but she is getting flack about this. But for those who haven't caught this, if you haven't been paying attention to what's going on with MTG these days, she has been going hard as shit. She is called this a genocide, which I know it sounds like whatever, that's lame for us. You're like, but pretty sure, I think she's the only Republican member of Congress. Massey may have. I mean, Massey's been really good on stuff, but I don't think I don't know if he's referred to it as that. But I mean, she's one of like a couple. I mean, she has been going hard as fuck. So I mean, MTG she's not wrong. She's going scorched earth, and I like to see it. I'm interested to see where this goes, but she's inevitably already getting flack. This is from Dave DeCamp. I guess the pro-Israel lobby group AIPAC is attacking her after she became the first member of Congress to label Israel's actions against the Palestinians in Gaza a genocide. According to Al Jazeera, in a fundraising email to supporters on Thursday, AIPAC called Green's remarks disgusting and accused her of betraying America's values. That's what she was referring to a little bit there in that clip. For calling Israel's brutal campaign in Gaza a genocide, which aligns Green with many human rights organizations, genocide scholars, including Israeli ones. It says, you expect anti-Israel smears from Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, AIPAC said in the email, referring to two House Democrats known for their critical view of Israel. But now Marjorie Taylor Greene has joined their ranks, spouting the same vile rhetoric and voting against the U.S.-Israel alliance. AIPAC said Greene was now the newest member of the anti-Israel squad and called the review and claimed the review was a betrayal of American views and a dangerous distortion of the truth. Greene has referred to Israel's actions as genocide at least twice in posts on X. In her first post, Greene said that's the most truthful and easiest thing to say that October 7th in Israel is horrific and all hostages must be returned. But so is the genocide, humanitarian crisis, and starvation happening in Gaza. Fucking bam. In another post, a Georgia congresswoman said many Americans are against radical Islamic terrorism, but we are also against genocide. She has also repeatedly referred to Israel as nuclear-armed Israel, which, yeah, she does refer to that over and over again. So, like, they really are, they're fucking with the wrong lady is what Israel is doing. And I don't know, this is one of those ones that, like, I know it sounds silly to be like, oh my God, someone is in Congress said nuclear-armed and genocide. Like, Bernie Sanders hasn't even said, I think, they definitely hasn't said genocide. I don't know about the nuclear arm, but both of those were big things that were like the holdout of like, no, we can't say that. And you have a Republican member of Congress just fucking just slapping him in the face with it over and over and over again. You're like weaponizing it, not just in like a, oh, I'm compelled to be honest. And someone asked about it. Yeah, they do have nuclear weapons, and that is a problem. Like, no, she's going out of their way to be like, fuck them. They have nukes. They're committing genocide. Like, fuck you. Like, it's like whatever. I hope AIPAC goes so fucking hard in the paint against her and others like her. Because whatever, it's Streisanding effect. That's like an exponential Streisand effect occurring, I think. And whatever, let's keep going. I'm here for more. Keep it coming. Keep smearing these people because they're not going to react well. And I know the stupid, flimsy, oh, you guys are panicans or what. No one fucking cares. No one cares. Like, no one cares. The only person who's like concerned about being called a panican is the kind of person who calls people panicans or whatever the fuck or whatever the stupid insult is now. No one cares. The only person who's like that would care about being called a panican is if someone was so on the boat, like the most brain-rotted boomer con you can think of, and they're like, well, you're not even a panican, are you? And you're like, oh, no, I'm not being... Like, this is the only person who would really care. Like, no one else fucking cares. So it's a completely meaningless nothingness. It's an insular fucking, like, don't leave the plantation. Like, that's all it is. Like, for an ever-shrinking group of people. So, keep going. Have fun with it. I don't care. All right, what else we got? We got the latest. I haven't been covering this too much, and I guess I sort of apologize, but it's been for months now. The whole Lebanon stuff going on has been more or less, from my understanding, just ins and outs of kind of a ceasefire that's not actually ceasing all that much fire, and just a continual, like, you know, that Lebanon being like, hey, USA, what the fuck? You're supposed to be making sure the ceasefire is upheld. And they're like, what do you want us to do? And they're like, well, you're the one who agreed to be the one that we come to for this. So, okay. And then we come to them with ridiculous requests. For example, the latest, this one, it's not that latest. They've been kind of going back and forth on this. This is on Hezbollah, about Lebanon and disarming Hezbollah. Because for those who aren't aware, Hezbollah is like essentially a militia. And I believe they span like multiple countries in that region. I think they have a pretty large presence in Lebanon. They're like, I think they're but you got to think how many countries have changed hands and stuff over the years. And also just kind of, if you understand the history of that region, they're far less statist, I guess you could say. So the idea of I don't know enough about the Hezbollah to have strong opinions about them. But point being is, like, functionally, it's almost like they filled the role of like a regional military of sorts. So it may not necessarily be as applied to a specific state, but so they have that in the region, and I believe they actually were a product of Israel's rampaging in the region back like shortly after the Nakba, if I recall correctly. Or this might have been like during the 70s or something. Either way, it was in response to Israel's actions. I do recall that. So they are literally a product of them. And so they reside in this area of Lebanon, and part of it. And now they're one of these groups that we always go, they're Hezbollah. Oh no, they're evil. Like kind of like the same. It's terrorists. It's ISIS. It's what's the other one? What did they used to Dash? What did they used to call them back then at one time? Then there's ISIS, Al Qaeda, Taliban. So it's just one of these like catch-alls, like terrorists, and you're like, okay, well, if you don't apply any sort of thinking, but yeah, it's just a regional militia essentially. They could suck. I don't fucking know. But point being is they literally were born out of like the whole Israel thing. So that's kind of part and parcel to all of this. And it's also this idea that from my understanding, the idea that the Lebanon government is going to come to Hezbollah and be like, hey, the U.S. is saying as conditions of certain treaties or whatever the fuck, you need to fuck off, is kind of a funny proposition, is my understanding, if you understand the dynamics at play. But for some reason, that's been the sticking point for a while. We've been really pushing them to do that. So let's go through that just to give you that little bit of context that I haven't been covering that so much. But all right, after weeks of U.S. demands and conflicting narratives about what is actually being proposed, the Lebanese cabinet has accepted the U.S. proposal to fully disarm Hezbollah by year's end. Hezbollah ministers as well as other Shiites walked out of the cabinet vote. The U.S. proposal, which is very recent, is starkly different from past U.S. demands. It sets a 4-stage process whereby Lebanon's government establishes a full monopoly on all arms in the country by year's end. In return, Israel is to stop their near-daily attacks on Lebanon and withdraw from Lebanese territory. Okay. All right, so U.S. plan hinges on Israeli compliance. Okay, so I see what's happening here. Okay. All right, so we've been pushing them for a while, like Lebanon to, as part of like these treaties to, or whatever the fuck, to disarm Hezbollah. And I believe that, and so they're essentially, their point was like, okay, they finally come to the point where they're like, okay, we'll do that. Even though that, like, from my understanding, that's essentially would require civil war. But so Lebanon's like, okay, fine, whatever. We're willing to risk civil war within our own country. But you guys got to stop Israel, which frankly, this seems like this is them calling the bluff is what it sounds like to me. Like, you're not going to stop Israel. So, okay. So yeah, because they have to stop their near daily attacks and withdraw from Lebanon, which they're really stuck on not withdrawing. Have you not noticed in all these different areas that they keep seeping into how they're really, really apt to not want to withdraw? Okay. So just 2 weeks ago, U.S. demand was a full disarmament of Hezbollah within 90 days, which would have put the deadline, which envoy Tom Barak said Israel established in late November. At that time, Barak had insisted the U.S. had no business asking Israel to stop attacking Lebanon, which is what we were literally, I'm pretty sure we have literally a role in the ceasefire of that. But anyways. Now the deadline pushes through year's end and comes with conditions of Israel stopping their attacks and withdrawing in stages from the rest of southern Lebanon. Both these conditions were already established in November's ceasefire, though Israel never complied with either. Lebanese Information Minister Paul Marcos said the new agreement hinges on Israel actually living up to the commitments. Whoa, who would have ever thought? It's not clear from current reporting if Israel agreed to this new deal in the first place or if it was just a U.S. negotiating tactic and one they may or may not try to deliver on. Barak was perfectly comfortable to take credit for it, however, cheering the cabinet's compliance is historic, bold, and correct, in suggesting this amounted to Lebanon beginning fully implementing the November 2024 cessation of hostilities agreement. So the agreement required Hezbollah to stop firing on Israel, withdraw north of the Litani River, and for Israel to stop attacking Lebanon and withdraw back to Israel. Hezbollah hasn't fired a single rocket at Israel since the ceasefire went into effect and has handed over a large number of sites south of the river, though Israel maintains that more still exists. By contrast, Israel has launched thousands of attacks on Lebanon It retains 5 military outputs built inside Lebanon after the pullout agreement was made. The ability of the Lebanese government to actually disarm Hezbollah despite the commitment remains to be seen. Hezbollah has repeatedly ruled out giving up their arms while Israel is actively attacking, and the reaction to this will hinge a lot on if Israel fulfills their side of the deal. A big if. Hezbollah is a substantial force and likely larger than Lebanon's own security forces, so the ability of the army to impose disarmament remains to be seen. And sounds to me like it would probably be pretty damn unpopular as well, if I had to guess. All right, sorry, let me exit a couple times. All right, last on the foreign policy front, nearly 10,000 have been killed in Syria since they call them the diversity-friendly jihadists seized power. So we won't go through the ins and outs of this, but that's just an update in that, because this ties into all the stuff going on in Israel, because keep in mind, like, let's be real, between us and Israel, we had a huge hand in overthrowing Syria's government and, destabilizing the region. And now this is essentially their puppet forces of the West and Israel. These are our puppet forces in play, and also with that came Israel taking large portions of Syria with this falling apart, and at the same time the parts that they didn't take over are dealing with civic upheaval. So. Yeah, but who knows when they'll encroach on there. So, all right, let's roll the chat. See what you guys got to say. It's been a minute since I checked in with y'all. What's up with you guys? Let's see. Good morning, No Name Rico. No Name. Good morning. Good morning, Raheem. That's a fun name. Good morning, aggressively agreeing. Says Lebanon, or U.S. is Lebanon. All you have to do for a ceasefire is not be Muslim. We aren't asking for much. Yeah. Why is my comment deleted? Genocide is not lame. Raheem, if I didn't see anything in this chat about a whatever, you are on, I can see you are doing this on YouTube. YouTube has their own censors in place. I don't have any control over that. So just so you know, go to Rumble and I'll see it and you can say whatever. So, or otherwise, I don't know. You have to play by YouTube's rules. It is what it is. I had no part of that. So what's up, Tower Gang NBC? Good morning. Good morning, Demon Hunter Bear. Yeah, so Alien Big Cat says I lost a comment too. It's YouTube. Yeah, you got to be careful. I don't know. Even Rumble will certain things. You got to like certain things, but they're pretty much damn near anything. You can drop full on N-bombs, I think, on Rumble. But sometimes I think you got to get crafty. But for the most part, you can drop whatever. So if you want that real free speech stuff, go on over there. So he says, thanks for reassuring me. I was shocked you'd censor things. No, I even literally go to the point of even on YouTube, I manually go to the settings and then go down to like none for comments. Now, does that mean I wouldn't ever delete a comment? I don't know. If you're cunty enough and I didn't really want to see that in my feed, sure, maybe I would. But I don't feel like I ever recall ever doing that because, I just don't care. Like, whatever. It's a YouTube comment. So, but yeah, no, I didn't do that. And nor would I really even... Sometimes I just miss stuff in the chat anyway, so I wouldn't really be able to keep up with the chat like that anyway. So, all right, let's move into... What do we got next? We got... Oh, yeah, we're trying to arrest the president of Venezuela. So let's see what Pam Bondi, this dumb broad, has to say. Let's hear.
Today, the Department of Justice and State Department are announcing a historic $50 million reward for information leading to the arrest of Nicolas Maduro. Maduro uses foreign terrorist organizations like TDA, Sinaloa, and Cartel of the Suns to bring deadly drugs and violence into our country. To date, the DEA has seized 30 tons of cocaine linked to Maduro and his associates, with nearly 7 tons linked to Maduro himself, which represents a primary source of income for the deadly cartels based in Venezuela and Mexico. Cocaine is often laced with fentanyl, resulting in the loss and destruction of countless American lives.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be laced with fentanyl if y'all would just be cool. If you weren't doing gay shit like this, then we could get that cool bam bam. Come on. All right. Anyways.
The DOJ has seized over $700 million of Maduro-linked assets, including 2 private jets, 9 vehicles, and more. Yet Maduro's reign of terror continues. He is one of the largest narco traffickers in the world and a threat to our national security. Therefore, we've doubled his reward to $50 million. Under President Trump's leadership, Maduro will not escape justice and he will be held accountable for his despicable crimes. If you have any information to bring this criminal to justice, call 1-202-307-4228 or go online.
This just feels so fucking foolish. Like, for those who aren't aware, Nicolas Maduro, he is the president of Venezuela. Actually, I did just say that before that, but to remind you, so this is the president of Venezuela, and I guess they're saying that they're making implications, perhaps he's involved in drug trafficking, which he probably is. I mean, I don't know. If anything, I lean towards he is. So, I don't know. I'm primed to believe that. I mean, I don't even, but like, okay, so let's say he is. He's a president of a country. What are we doing here? Like, you're gonna arrest him for drugs, which are like what? I don't even know what the legality of that is in Venezuela. I mean, I guess you could say then it'd be breaking international law. Okay, something. I mean, especially considering, like, once again, not to keep bringing this back to Israel, that like they got found to be likely of committing genocide in the ICC, and there are arrest warrants out for Netanyahu and what was his defense minister as well, like. And you're put out like, oh, we're gonna arrest Maduro because he does some do drugs or something. Okay, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's better if he wasn't slinging drugs, but like, I don't know. This feels like maybe it's just a knowing your audience thing for them, because this feels like the only audience that I was making fun of that these guys probably still have at this point. Like, this does seem like something, I guess, that would appeal to them. This, like, this old-timey, like, reefer madness nonsense of, like, oh, my God, like, cocaine is, like, the worst thing in the world, and, like, you're going to do it once, and, like, I don't know, that you're going to, then your wives are going to start sleeping with black men or something. Whatever the fuck the thing, like, it's just, it's bizarre. Like, it's like I'm not that scared of that. I don't know. If anything, if I'm more grossed out by the we gotta stop this. Like, I don't know. Like, all the, especially because, like, I was kind of joking, like the fentanyl thing that you was saying before. It's like, yeah, that's good because of all the, like, if you allowed drugs to be legal, I don't know how we would have a fentanyl problem anymore. It wouldn't make sense that there would be a fentanyl issue. You could just, I mean, I'm not saying that. This isn't me saying that you should be able to go to your grocery store and get cocaine or whatever. I don't think that's how if there was let's say cocaine was made illegal and this did somehow integrate itself into society in places that you could procure it, I do think it would probably still be somewhat seedy establishments, but it's still going to be better than, like, what you're getting now and getting cut with all this weird shit. You're going to get far more reliable product. You're going to get different vendors from which you can choose to get it from. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, just especially considering the opposite now, where we have all this fentanyl now, and it does really take. I mean, I could take it from. I mean, I know. I guess far be it for me to run, but that's not really even that. And I also think, I guess, as someone who has partaken a lot of the drugs in my life, it's also this stupid mentality of, like, I'm not saying everyone should do a ton of drugs, but also people have this, like, mentality of, like, oh, they're the devil. And this is where you get this stupid idea where people take things like, say, cocaine, like it's mentioned now, and they conflate it. Its dangerousness to something like, I don't know, what's another drug I can think of, like something that's actually legitimately like, oh shit, like I don't know, maybe I'd say opiates are probably more dangerous. Just point being is it's the fentanyl that's the issue. Like, if somehow we did have a society where cocaine was legal, I don't know. I feel like it would probably, maybe you would have a small period of time where people's like, oh my God, cocaine's legal. Oh, that's so crazy. Woohoo. And everyone does it. And, like, frankly, I think it'd probably kind of lose its shine and kind of be like, okay, goes cocaine. It kind of maybe be like alcohol. I don't know. It lose its luster, I think, perhaps. But point being is, at least it would be way safer too. I don't know all this. I don't know. I'm getting a little of a rant. It just seems like stupid old people energy, and I hate it. I hate it so much. It's just dumb. It's also so performative, as Mel Village Crazy Lady points out here. She says, he's literally the president of Venezuela. What the fuck do you mean, info? What the fuck do you mean you need info linked to his arrest? Arrest by who? You? This makes no sense. Says, can you just kind of another check to Israel? Why do we have to do this weirdo reward cosplay money laundering thing? Yeah, it is very bizarre. And it's also suspect, as she pointed out, Israel. Apparently he said some mega base shit in the past. So, like, I don't know if there's perhaps there's something specifically going on right now that I've missed. But yeah, he's also said mega base things. So here's him claiming that Javier Milei and Elon Musk are a member of a satanic cult, which we actually will get into that later. With maybe there might be something to the whole Elon thing. He says he also links him to the occult forces behind Adolf Hitler. So here you go. He says, I was told exactly what to do with the devil. With the diabolical symbols used by Elon Musk, which he did have that one. That might even still be his profile picture. That stupid like Satan costume he had on or whatever. It says check out his profile, yeah, just like I said. And the diabolical symbols on his chest. They are satanic cults of U.S. power. They have articulated sects like the one of Javier Milei. Or in Venezuela, satanic cults like fascism. I think he might be saying too many goddamn truthful things right now. This one who attacked our country. It's a spiritual fight between good and evil. Between hate, lies, hoax, fascism. Because you guys know all the occultism behind Hitler. Which is okay. I didn't plan. By the way, we're going to get some later topics that tie perfectly into all this. So I was told exactly what to do with the devil. Oh, never mind. Started over again. Okay. Here's another clip. So this is from Shadow Vezros, and the U.S. government has just announced a $50 million award for information linked to the rest of Venezuela's president. Maduro has labeled Israel an enemy of the world, claiming that today's Israel is not governed by the original 12 tribes, but by fake Jews. He goes. He also accused modern Israel of being a Zionist project aimed at dominating the entire Middle East. Let's watch this one. So those Jews from the 12 tribes who are not the ones who rule today in the state of Israel, those who govern today, Netanyahu is not an authentic Jew. Says he is a scoundrel who comes from Poland. For those who like to talk about religions and say this is a religious conflict, no, this is not a religious conflict. The conflict exists since the foundation of the state of Israel is a geopolitical conflict because the state was created to conquer the entire Middle East and Central Asia to take away their riches and colonize those peoples. He's not wrong. It was Rockefellers who created this, by the way, the Zionist project, and it was created by a bunch of atheist Jews. So trying to make this a religious thing was more of a post facto rationalization, although it was probably thought of beforehand also. But point being is it's more of religious stuff. It's a Zionist project that they say goes from the Jordan River to the Euphrates and beyond. All right. Well, it's saying mega base shit. You guys, I think the next topic you'll see what I mean. That you're like, holy shit, he was spitting hot fire. All right, let's roll through the chat. Checking on you guys. It's been a minute. What is up, guys? By the way, if you guys can drop likes or drop some likes, all that stuff. I have noticed lately. I feel like I've been noticing a disconnect. The metrics. My autism's kicking in. I'm feeling a disconnect in the metrics. I'm noticing lots of comments and lots of likes, and they're not seeming to correspond with the views. So, and it also seems to match up with this new ID stuff and how I just got dinged for a strike on YouTube recently. So, because I told you guys right before I went on vacation, I got dinged for that stupid. The censors for the whole self-harm thing because I have the Tuesday show called Already Dead, and I put out a promo for it, and they gave me a strike. And then they were like, oh, well, whenever they did that, they also hit me with that new shit, that new, you got to get that ID verification. I haven't done it yet, and because I declined to do it, and so I assume they'll probably make me at some point. But since then, I have noticed not like a lot, but a significant I've been noticing a similar, if not increasing, amount of comments and likes, but then corresponding the views not matching up, which is very much a telltale symbol of some shenanigans are afoot and somebody's tampering with stuff. I don't know if maybe it could be as simple as just because I got dinged recently, maybe their algo has some method of, dampening down, who it gets distributed out to, and so that tampers down the views or whatever. But either way, the man's out to get me and help a brother out. So leave like, share around, do whatever. Help me out here. I got to fight against these gay little censors, fighting these little wars. And it is part of the InfoWar game. I mean, think about that. I mean, think about that subtle little thing about just like think about like when you go to the grocery store and you're picking stuff. Like, at least me. I mean, my wife, she probably puts in far more analysis. I just walk through and I just kind of whatever catches my eye. And so if you're playing that game, if you're playing the YouTube game and people are doing that, now you're just choosing who do I want to listen to, this, that, and you're just kind of perusing through something as simple as like, let's say they're playing shenanigan games with me. Let's say they managed to tamper down even something as simple as 200 likes. Let's say or views. Let's say you scrolling through and you say, here's live stream from 2 days ago and it has 250 views as opposed to 450 views. Whatever. That's a difference between whether someone sticks around or not. Because these are these subtle little mental mind games they play. So help a brother out, boost that shit up, so we can keep it popping. All right, let's roll through the chat some more. See what you guys got to say. No Venezuelan ever called me an anti-Semite. Yeah, for sure. All right. Bye. Love you. My kid is leaving. All right, scrolling through. Maduro has often expressed strong support for Palestine, condemning what he calls imperialist aggression against the Palestinian people. The Jews are juicing. Yeah, checks out for sure. Someone says Kratom's cool. It's like okay. It's like the tea of the opium world, I guess is what you could say, is the way I would look at it. Like for those who like caffeine, if you're like, if you have like tea, you're like, that was nice. Like, I think I feel a little bit of caffeine rushing through me. That was a nice little wake up, kind of relaxing. Like, that's what it is. It's like it's the equivalent of that for the opium world. It's the like, okay, that's nice. Okay, all right. Like, so I don't know, I've messed with it a little bit. It's nice if you are into like opiates, especially if you're someone who's like not ever messed with opiates. Like, I wouldn't suggest to go get Kratom, but if you're someone who likes that feeling, especially because I do think opiates are bad. And so if you're going to use Kratom alternatively, I think preferably it's better just to use neither. I'll be completely honest. It's probably better not to. I don't know enough about Kratom. I mean, who knows? Maybe it is good for you, but I'd say you probably should lean away from it probably, but whatever. And then, all right, someone asked if I ever tried it. Well, there you go. There's your answer. I said it. Maduro said on Election Day 2024 when he voted for himself, "Viva Palestine Libre." So okay, cool. Coke plus alcohol produces coca ethanol, causes free radicals equals cancer. Huh? Interesting. I do think alcohol is trash and you shouldn't mess with it. You probably shouldn't mess with Coke either. But I'm just saying it's not the. I know, like I feel like the point I was trying to get at is in the brain of the average. I don't know, the average Trump voter, or I guess maybe, or what? Not even Trump voter. Trump, whoever's still on the Trump train, the mind of them, what Coke is like insane. And we're just like, I don't know, it's not that crazy. I don't know, but it's just not this crazy. It's not like heroin or something. I don't know. Gogo says no corrupt politician wants that kind of heat and all the smoke. This guy's got a solid rep for being real, a long track record. Demon Hunter Bear says Maduro smuggling drugs, red pills specifically. Yeah, you should kiss the wall if you want to keep your channel. I probably should. That would probably it's a significant uptick in the algo if I did. So yeah. Some people use just like the Coke for the smell. Use Kratom to wean off pills or smack. Yeah, I mean for that, like I don't think you should like go do Kratom, but if you're someone who's like you do feel the compulsion or whatever, like I know it's something. I mean, I understand the idea of like if we're weaning off, or even then, even if you just like it, like I don't know, I think I still have some in the house somewhere. So like I've had it from like forever ago. I used to use it a lot regularly for like shows. I felt like if I had like one or two, like a really low dose, I felt like it kind of woke me up, kind of woke the brain up. So I don't know. I'm like not necessarily against it in like a like crazy way. I don't know. It's like okay. So have you seen large sections of the Constitution were deleted from the Library of Congress website, including habeas corpus? No, I didn't see that. That's wild. All right, let's get into the next story. This is what I was telling you about this wild web of connections that kind of lead from kind of what Maduro was talking about, it seems to me. So here's from Robert Scavarla, a pretty good follow. I always see some interesting stuff that comes out of him. It says he decided it would be useful to create a timeline of alleged interactions between Elon and Epstein since brain geniuses keep adding grok in my replies. So the first one is Epstein appears to have first established contact with Musk at the 2011 billionaires dinner hosted by the Edge Group. Now, okay, I say that like I'm like, ooh, the Edge Group, but like, all right, I guess I know where I'm going with this. Maybe not all of you do, and maybe the very super perceptive, crazy, No Way Jose listener maybe would as well, because I have covered on previous morning dumps about the Edge Foundation, the Edge Group, different variations of that, how they are Epstein's thing, and we've even covered a tiny bit about the Edge Foundation or the Edge publication or whatever the fuck. There's different variations of it. They had like a book. They essentially had a publication for a while, and just kind of the weird connections there, and how that seems to even go so far as to connect straight to the government, Operation Paperclip, and the like. So this gets kind of wild. And I remember I just happened to see this scroll up on my timeline the other day, this post from Robert. And this was information I recalled, but I don't know why I'd known about this little billionaires dinner, but for some reason I never really picked up on the Edge piece. And like, I don't know why. Sometimes just little things you pick up later, like, oh, and so they're talking about the Edge Group here. And then I recalled the previous, like there was actually something I've had bookmarked for a while that I've been meaning to cover. And that will be the next thing we cover after this little thread, that they perfectly tie in together, in my opinion. Digging a little bit deeper into the foundations of the Edge Group and their little publication, and Krasner and Operation Paperclip. And point being is it's quite the web. I think you'll see when we come out of this, you'll go, oh, okay. And it was just for me, literally just that this post happened to come across my thing, and I tied these two things together, and I'm like, oh shit. So all right, I think you'll see once we get through this a little bit more. So here's the first one, the Edge Billionaires Dinner. So from Gary Wolf, it says the dinner party was a microcosm of a newly dominant sector of American business. Here's a picture of Elon there at it. Here's a picture of Zach Bogue, who's from Montaro Capital Partners. You can see Epstein in the background there clearly. So this was a dinner that they were at. There's also in this that he quote tweeted here a grok tweet saying the Business Insider report cites anonymous sources claiming Epstein introduced a woman to Kimball Musk, which I believe is his brother, to approach Elon, but Musk denies any advisory role or SpaceX tour by Epstein. Evidence is thin based on Epstein's name-dropping habits. No proven ties exist. And here's another one from Robert. This is a report from BuzzFeed News states the dinner took place in March, along with another similar event later that year. The article suggests Epstein used events like this to establish contact with people like Elon and Bill Gates. So here's an excerpt. It says in March 2011, a group of technology executives gathered in a private dining room at an upscale Italian restaurant in downtown Long Beach, California, for a meal and some conversation. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, Tesla CEO Elon Musk, Google co-founder Sergey Brin, and others were all in town for TED, the annual conference with the slogan "Ideas Worth Spreading." They were among friends at an annual event called the Billionaires Dinner, without a retinue of handlers and hangers-on. So they even said they made a point to not bring their normal retinue there, so that's interesting. Here's more for this elite dinner and another similarly select gathering that Epstein attended later that year were both organized by the New York literary agent John Brockman, whose exclusive intellectual club called Edge seems to have played a role in Epstein's efforts to regain credibility and influences in the circles of the rich and powerful. At the time, he was less than 2 years removed from finishing a 13-month prison term in Florida State Jail for soliciting prostitution with an underage girl. A leaked email obtained by BuzzFeed News also suggests that Epstein separately pursued ties with Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates. This is a now-deleted post on the Edge Group's site also noted the annual Billionaires Dinner, one of Epstein's favorite events, occurred in coordination with a TED conference in California. So this is, I guess, more to corroborate this. Here's Jeffrey Epstein supports the Edge Group. Here's a little factoid thing here, and like I said, a now-deleted post. It says, billionaire Jeffrey Epstein is known for many things, but what he enjoys the most is hanging with stimulating and provocative, thoughtful minds who have achieved a high degree of success in finance, company, high-tech, and scientific research. One of Jeffrey Epstein's favorite events is the annual Billionaire Dinners hosted by John Brockman one night throughout the prestigious TED conferences held in Lengthy Beach. Is a night where the large names of finance, business, philanthropy, and science gather together. For one night, the richest people in the world come face to face with the most intelligent individuals in history. At this event, you will find personalities like Bill Gates and his wife, Jesse Dillon, Jeff Skoll, and other peoples interacting with each other. Nevertheless, Jeffrey Epstein is more interested in talking about quantum computing together with the issues that come with it, which, by the way, we've read before in the show that people say that's bullcrap, and like that all he ever had was coochie in the mind, essentially. So yeah, he's not a big intellectual. So which is really a topic adeptly explained by the billionaires and Google founder Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Wherever you go, there are intense, passionate discussions on all sorts of topics. But it isn't the mundane that is discussed here. It's all about ideas, actions, though, and what we can do to assist the planet is in expand the frontiers of knowledge. Jeffrey Epstein supports the Edge Group and participates in its annual series of questions that it posts on the Edge internet site. On no other forum do you have so numerous free minds, provocative thinkers, and writers weighing in on the specific query of the day. Some of the responses might be mundane, but some are truly insightful. Brockman, founder of The Edge, generally takes the many responses and publishes them into a series of books which make for a most intriguing read. Okay, that's weird. And this is at some point in 2011, Epstein allegedly set Elon's brother Kimball up with a girlfriend. So here's the headline. It says Jeffrey Epstein set Elon Musk's brother up with a girlfriend in effort to get close to Tesla founder, sources say, which, by the way, apparently he has a habit of doing such things. If you've read Whitney Webb's book, you would know this. There's lots of rumors that swirl around the origins of Melania, and if that is directly tied to Jeffrey or not. Either way, I'm pretty sure it is legit that she did come here in a modeling situation, lived in a weird housing situation with some creeper. It looks very weird when you dig into Melania's past. Now the Jeffrey Epstein connection is a little bit more elusive. I think she one of Casablanca's guys or ladies, not guys, but I believe she might have been one of Casablanca's. But either way, the direct Epstein connection is a little bit more elusive. But that's one that's thrown around a lot. Here's another one from Robert. He says, Epstein then ran into, here's a tweet. He says, Epstein then ran into Elon at a TED conference following year in February 2012. Per an Epstein email, he met with Musk and Bill Gates' advisor, Boris Nikolic, on February 28th. No reason to assume he was lying here, as the email was private until 2023. So, yeah, that's the email. Says, according to Business Insider, Kimball and Epstein were chummy enough that Kimball invited his new friend to his 40th birthday party that September. Epstein didn't attend, but is said to have visited a SpaceX facility days before. So here's the article. It says, a birthday party with a banker's daughter. It says, the relationship gave Epstein an opportunity to get close to both Kimball Musk and his more successful brother. Epstein was invited to attend Kimball's 40th birthday party in New York City in September 2012, according to one of the sources familiar with the relationship. Epstein ultimately did not attend the party, though members of his entourage did. It was the day after the birthday party that Elon and his then wife, Riley, visited Epstein at his home in New York City, the person said. According to emails reviewed by Business Insider, one of the people who was invited to the party at Epstein's request was Alexa Staley, the daughter of Barclays CEO James E. Jess Staley. The Barclays, weren't they? Barclays was the big. God, what are they? What family is that? That's the Barclays or the big. It's online banking. Okay, I thought it was a big. Okay, I'm mixing them up with somebody else. All right, get back to it. She was 23 at the time and working her PhD in physics in Columbia University. Yeah, the Barclays are it's an online banking, consumer banking company. All right, let's keep going. Here we go. It says Epstein took an exclusive tour of SpaceX. This is a few days before the birthday party. The source says Kimball Musk had arranged for Epstein and members of his entourage to receive a private tour of the Hawthorne, California factory for SpaceX, the rocket company founded by Elon Musk. It's unclear whether Elon or Kimball were present for the tour. Here's an update. It says July 6th, more than 6 months after the story was published and more than 6 months after SpaceX did not respond to a request for comment, a SpaceX attorney wrote to Business Insider claiming that Mr. Epstein did not tour the SpaceX facilities in 2012 or at any other time. The letter came 2 days after a Twitter user asked Musk about the Epstein visit, and Musk replied, "To the best of our knowledge, he never toured SpaceX. We don't know where that comes from," which could be true. I don't know. It says the week of the tour, Epstein was in LA to attend the WWW conference, a one-time event organized by Richard Saul Werman, the founder of the TED conference and symposium franchise. So Elon and then wife Tallulah Riley visited Epstein in Manhattan the day after Kimball's party. Both Elon and Riley have confirmed the meeting took place, so they claim to not remember the context behind it. So here's actually literally Elon's ex-wife right here is a thing from 2020. Here's her commenting on it. She says, "I don't usually comment on such things, but given the truly horrific nature of what's being implied up and down my timeline today, I wanted to respond publicly with Elon's permission. However, I speak only for myself." So this is in response to, because I guess Elon also responded. This is the one they were referring to a moment ago about how Elon responded to somebody who the person deleted their post in response to essentially them meeting. He said, Elon's saying here is as a Vanity Fair with Tallulah. I don't know Ghislaine. Real question is, why did VF invite her? Whoever VF is. All right, let's read this. This is from his ex-wife, Tallulah. It says, to my knowledge, I have never met Ghislaine Maxwell. Photo of Elon and Maxwell is doing the rounds, taken at a party where I was also present. It's possible I was briefly introduced to her, but not in any way that I can remember. Elon and I met thousands of people over the course of our relationship. There will be a countless photos of Elon with people he doesn't know, / happened to be stood next to at a party. Elon and I went to Epstein's house in New York City once as part of an itinerary of appointments. I can't even date it to a year. We used to travel constantly for work, and the situation was always pretty similar in any city / country. Back-to-back meetings, a car with CPO drivers, and often a contact / minder / guide. The trip was no different. There was a man taking us around the city and introducing us to various people. The other thing I have seen implied is that Maxwell procured me as some kind of child bride for Elon. Again, I don't know Maxwell. Elon and I met when I was 22, and he was on a business trip to London. It was a chance meeting engineered by no one. I'm distressed by something so truly awful being thrown around this court of Twitter. I hope that every victim of Epstein's finds justice and peace, and that any person involved in harming underage girls is punished to the extent of the law. So, all right. So this is her confirming that they visited Epstein. Okay. All right. So I believe this is them, I guess, confirming that they were at that thing. So Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell was photographed with Elon in 2014. The meeting, a photobomb, according to Elon, occurred at an Oscars party hosted by Graydon Carter. So here's the photo in question. Everyone's probably seen this. So it says Musk and Maxwell were photographed at an Oscars after party hosted by former Vanity Fair editor Graydon Carter on March 2nd, 2014. In West Hollywood, the same Musk spokesperson told BI that Ghislaine simply inserted herself behind him in a photo he was posing for without his knowledge. The episode was 6 years after Epstein pled guilty to soliciting a minor for prostitution in South Florida. So, okay, I don't know. Maybe believable enough, I guess. Mark Zuckerberg is alleged to have been introduced to Epstein by Elon at a party. Okay. hosted by Reid Hoffman during this period. So this is an alleged... Okay. This is by Reid Hoffman, whoever that is. Okay. So Epstein, here's an excerpt from the article from Vanity Fair. It says, Epstein remained a fixture in elite circles even after he was a registered sex offender. A few years ago, for example, he was a guest at dinner in Palo Alto hosted by LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman. Okay, there you go. For the MIT neuroscientist Ed Boyden. At the dinner, Elon Musk introduced Epstein to Mark Zuckerberg. Mark met Epstein in passing one time at a dinner honoring scientists that was not organized by Epstein. Zuckerberg spokesman Ben LeBolt told me Mark did not communicate with Epstein again following the dinner. Okay, so now this is seeming to imply a stronger relationship than what is seemingly trying to be portrayed as earlier, so by others. So, and this is from, they said it was by, what was this? It was Reid Hoffman, so LinkedIn co-founder, claimed this, that he was introduced to Epstein by Elon Musk. A year after his death, Epstein claimed New York Times reporter James Stewart that he was an advisor to Musk's company Tesla up through 2018. Okay, shit. All right, this is a little bit more now, huh? So here we go. This is Mr. Epstein avoided specifics about his work for Tesla. He told me that he had good reason to be cryptic. Once it became public that he was advising the company, he'd have to stop doing so because he was radioactive. He predicted that everyone at Tesla would deny talking to him or being his friend. He said this was something he'd become used to, even though it didn't stop people from visiting him, coming to his dinner parties, or asking him for money. That was why Mr. Epstein told me without any trace of irony he was considering becoming a minister so his acquaintances would be confident that their conversations would be kept confidential. So this is from the New York Times reporting on this. Okay, all right. An interesting tidbit in Stewart's New York Times article is that Epstein had a table displaying photos of celebrities who had been caught up in sex scandals of their own. Here's the excerpt. It says, behind him was a table covered with more photographs. I know it was one of Mr. Epstein with former Bill Clinton, and another of him with director Woody Allen. Displaying photos of celebrities who have been caught up in sex scandals of their own also struck me as odd. Elon appears to be one of those celebs. Without disclosing where it obtains the images, the New York Times recently published an article including photos of the display. It's unclear when the Elon photo was taken, suggesting yet another meeting with Epstein. So there's other photos of Elon in here. They're kind of hard to make out. But yeah, those exist. So just throwing that out there. Interesting stuff. All right, let's roll in the chat, and then I'm going to we'll move on to the next thread, kind of going a little bit deeper, more into the kind of the paperclip sort of connections I was implying at earlier. So let's roll the chat, see what you guys got to say. What's up, Marty McFly? What's up, dude? Did I talk about the Bin Salman Epstein connection? Sorry, I got here late. No, I haven't really focused on that. Probably won't really today either way. So, if you're ever tempted by a snack, read Junkie and Train Spotting first. You're welcome. All right. Hey guys. Hey, what's up, Apple Eater? What it do? Aggressively agreeing says, I bet Epstein knew he wasn't going to be able to blackmail Zuck in a sex ring. Maybe. I don't know. All right, let's go into the next thread here. This is what I was telling you guys about before. So remember I was talking about the Edge. So we were talking about the Edge. What was it? The Edge Billionaires Dinner Edge Group, hosted by the Edge Group. So now we have here the Edge Foundation. So for those who don't remember this, we covered this once in an earlier morning dump. So this is before we dig into the kind of where Dana Duda, previous guest of the show, kind of enters us into here, is kind of showing us, here's some pictures, little information, stuff about the reality club, which so this is, and she puts here in her post, I'm trying to find a good answer as to why 3 individuals closely tied to the Manson case, Dennis Hopper, Jack Nicholson, and Paul Krasner, were members of the reality club, the original iteration of the Edge Foundation, which was funded by Jeffrey Epstein. So this was the Edge Foundation. We were just talking about the last one was the Edge Group. I think there's other different versions. And so it's a reality club. So that's the publication, was the reality club. I was thinking it was like Edge something too. But no, it's reality club. And so now these members of this reality club, which is being funded by, the reality club, I guess, is the original iteration of the Edge Foundation. That's what I meant, is what it is. So that Edge group, this is one of the, I guess this reality club is, I guess what you could say is one of its predecessors, or it's whatever. It's part of like what it came out of. So. And here is right here is a thing. There's a reality club, an extraordinary club. It says, and here's John Brockman again, which we were the editor of this thing. This is the one they're talking about. We mentioned him a few times so there we go. That's confirmation yet that there is a tie between this Edge Foundation, the Edge Group, because it's both John Brockman in both. Is like kind of the lead guy, with Epstein as being kind of seemingly one of the financiers, a little bit more behind the scenes, kind of portrayed as more of one of the members of the group in some iterations or whatever, kind of like, oh, here's another, just to bolster the roster, and like here's another interesting person in this group of weird, eccentric intellectuals or whatever. So yeah, this is a reality club. So I'm not going to focus on this too much, but it is bizarre because it feels like when they call this the reality club, that feels like literally what this is. And when you look at the people that are involved in it, here's some of like the roster. For example, Paul Krasner, who is the editor of The Realist, which was the publication that came out of the reality club. And then you got John C. Lilly, who was the weirdo who a lot of the deep conspiracy people know about him and his associations with dolphins and some of the weird stuff. But anyways, they have a lot of weird, they referred to them, I think, as avant-garde or whatever, as they like to do. But they're weird, odd authors and intelligentsia types. So the kind of people who would be, and the ones that seemingly come from money and have pedigrees too. So point being, it's spooky. And I guess it's kind of almost exactly, what you'd think of if there was a loose group of people in which they try to construct the narrative of reality amongst us. Who would those people be? A bunch of spooked out fucking authors. So that's and artists and such like that. So and other weird scientists. So that's what we're looking at. Also actors. So many people swirling around the industry of creating narratives, essentially. And that's what we're going today to dig into it a little bit differently. When she shared this, we covered just that. We dug a little bit into the concept around that and did a little bit more of a deeper version of what I just did just right now, which is me trying to somehow quickly give you context of what the hell this weird group is before we go into another weird deep dive. I'm not going to assume all of you have seen that, but she did this as a quote tweet of another thread of hers referring to Paul Krasner, who was one of these people in this. He was the one who was the editor of The Realist, this group, the publication from which sprouts out of the Reality Club. Krasner was the editor of it. He also has some weird connections to Manson and such. So we're going to him and kind of how he ties into Operation Paperclip. So this is what the thread is. And so I think you guys will see where I'm coming from and kind of how this ties into a lot of the shit we see today. All right. So this thread is Paul Krasner and Operation Paperclip. When keeping it realist goes wrong. And so I know it was a lot preamble to get to that, but I feel like all of this weirdly kind of ties in together, and you'll see what I mean. I feel like I've already kind of supported it even up till now. I know it seems tenuous. You're like, how the fuck did we get to Paul Krasner, the fucking editor of The Realist, which was, I think, essentially portrayed as some sort of avant-garde, intellectual, maybe even kind of a little bit kind of punk rockish maybe kind of vibe is what they tried to give it, of kind of like all the who's, like this is what they read, and that's how they tried to portray it as, when in reality it was one of the most spooked out things you could ever imagine. Anyways, let's keep going. Yippie, Mansonite, and possible Scientologist Paul Krasner is often painted with a sympathetic brush as one of the shakers and movers of the countercultural movement. He's best known for The Realist, his popular newsletter of social, political, religious criticism and satire. What he and his buddies leave out was the Operation Paperclip-led charge ultimately resulted in exposure of the Pentagon and DoD funding a school rampant with abuse that harbored a satanic cult who tortured and murdered one of their fellow students. From Confessions of a Raving Unconfined Nut, Misadventures in Counterculture. Krasner met with Reverend George von Hilsheimer, a proponent of the humanist movement, offering to fund a domestic Peace Corps ran by the Reverend with the realist as its organizing tool. So here you go. Here's the excerpt. It says, then I had dinner with George von Hilsheimer, who had been a child evangelist, but was now a practicing humanist. He'd just spent a few weeks exploring public and private sources of support for a national expansion of child care centers, and he was still in shell shock from dealing with bureaucracies. We were talking about Humanitas, an organization in Holland with 20,000 volunteer social workers. Von Hilsheimer said he could live on $50 a week, and I guaranteed him a year's subsistence to launch an American version of Humanitas called People. The realists soon began to serve as an organizing tool for this domestic Peace Corps, a community of idealists with nothing to lose but their armchairs. With my Playboy salary, which, because I think he was I want to say he was maybe he was an editor for Playboy for a while. I think he was pretty big up there. Anyways, I was already supporting William Baird's free birth control clinic, the Neighborhood Pilot Project, a remedial reading program run by John Davis and Aggie Dodd, and the Lower East Side Action Project, a judo center run by Larry and Michelle Cole. Now I made arrangements to do a benefit at Town Hall for People. Who is George von Hilsheimer? A self-proclaimed boy evangelist, psychologist, director of religious education of the Ethical Society of St. Louis, group organizer of the American Humanist Association, and former Army officer studying counseling and social programs in Europe. So here is just some little excerpts of stuff from his time. If you want to, you go check out the thread if you want to dig into that one more. I'm not going to try to read all those. The truth is, George was an Army intel officer for the Defense Scientist Immigration Program, DEFSIP, also known as Operation Paperclip. The study and integration of the European humanist movement was cover for recruiting Nazis. So George got married to Dean Kirk, a former employee of the FBI. Below, they are pictured hosting a JC Wine Festival in 1965 held at Green Valley School, which I might be getting a little bit ahead of this thread because, once again, this is more of a reaction show. I haven't read this thread yet. But the JCs, I have a feeling maybe we'll get into the JCs. But some of you guys in there might remember who the fuck the JCs are. But they were what? Some weird fucking like a political group that weirdly had a shitload of fucking associations with some fairly prominent, serial killers and also very prominent politicians. It's a weird one. I'm pretty sure that's the one that Gacy, I think, was in. And God, who else? There was another guy. Man, if you guys in the chat, sound off if you remember some of the weird JC connections, because I'm failing right now. I know some of the weirdness around the JC, but anyways. I was getting ahead of myself. I can think of another famous JC. Dana's way ahead of me. So here you go, John Wayne Gacy. Here he is. He was a JC. All right, we'll come back to Green Valley. So it's from the Realist, number 39, November 1962. George von Hilsheimer announces Summerlin Camp in North Carolina. The camp is based off of the Summerhill School of England, which permits children total freedom, free from moral or other blackmail. What a weird choice of words there. All right, and from Confessions of a Raving Unconfined Nut, Misadventures in Counterculture, Krasner details issues raised by locals concerning integration in North Carolina, leaving GVH at the helm because he was getting married that day at Norman Mailer's house. So here is an excerpt. He says, when she came to my parents' house for the first time, I told them about that time she punched me in the stomach, but it's different now. I added sticking my stomach way out to display my trust, and Jean punched me in the stomach again. You shouldn't attempt me like that, she explained. Through People, I was now supporting a daycare center, a bail fund, and a children's camp inspired by A.S. Neal's Summerhill School in England. George von Hilsheimer was supposed to run the camp in Rossman, North Carolina, but there were threats against the Negro kids. So on June 30th, 1963, the day Jean had set for a wedding at Norman Mailer's house, von Hilsheimer and I were checking out another site in New Jersey. I left him there so I could get back to help with preparations, such as getting the cake Jean had ordered with the words, at last decorating the top. Von Hilsheimer was 4 hours late, and the ceremony had to be delayed. Meanwhile, guests were getting drunk, Jean's divorced parents were flirting with each other, and a telegram arrived from the architect warning that the balcony could hold only a limited number of people. Locals reported nudism, obscene behavior, and integration. Bear in mind, the campers were between 13 to 15 years old. A riot broke out and the camp was burned down. Police stated vehicles parked at the camp bore plates from California, Mexico, New York, Oregon, Connecticut, and Florida. Here's some excerpts, some clippings, some newspaper clippings here to support this. Your Transylvania camp raided is what one of them calls. Free living camp folds after a night of violence. Paul Krasner details how the North Carolina mayor criticized the realists and parents were understandably hysterical calling in search of their kids. One has to ask, A, the cops said no Negroes were present. Were they never there or did they go missing? B, what the fuck? So here's the excerpt she's referring to here. It says, in North Carolina, the mayor claimed the realists had a sexual promiscuity theme and was unfit to be read by gentlemen. The sheriff agreed. The paper was atheistic, he said, and were mostly Baptists and pretty serious about it. And so a mob of serious Baptist gentlemen raped a children's summer camp? I don't think they mean rape in the literal raping sense. The kids had never seen a lake on fire before. While Jean was in New York fielding kids from understandably hysterical parents who didn't know where their kids were, en route from North Carolina to New Jersey, I was at the Playboy Mansion in Chicago working on the Lenny Bruce book. Okay, so it sounds like now they're saying a mob of Christian men came and burned this summer camp down? Because that makes me wonder what, like she said, B, what the fuck? Even the FBI was keeping tabs on GVH and Krasner's operation, reporting the vagrant school bus is being riddled with bullet holes from the raid. All right, this makes me think that this probably, what was reported on the reality of the situation are probably miles apart. As an aside, I'm sure it's a total coincidence the SDS/Weatherman Underground were operating a school using this very same method of education at their children's community school, which for those who don't recall them, they were like some extremists, I guess in the protest movement during, I guess you say like the Vietnam era type deal, and they glue like the sun as well. There's a lot of weirdness there. So, all right, let's keep going. So it's back to Green Valley, from curse to birth, the short, unhappy life of William S. Burroughs Jr., Reverend George von Hilsheimer states that initially it was a gifted school for underachievers. Okay, you can see right here. It says, George von Hilsheimer, I made a big deal of naked lunch. I used to read it out loud. And here comes Billy, I suppose because he didn't fit anywhere else. He wasn't all that remarkable except for his heavy beard, his weary look, and his notoriety. Just had his picture in Esquire with his father. Initially, we had the illusion that we were running a school of gifted underachievers. It turned out all these gifted underachievers were fairly flaky kids with problems other than underachieving. So we went ahead and made the school specifically for kids with problems. What was Billy's problem? He was a typically super bright kid who didn't want to work. Intriguing and interesting, a little aloof, but nothing inappropriate for his age. He was rather slippery, though. He managed successfully to smuggle drugs in the school several times. And we had some ferocious face downs over that. In another passage, Ron Nowicki described the school as Summerhill with a little Wilhelm ranch thrown in, straying the Reverend was trained in Reichian therapy. So what's Green Valley? The school funded by the Pentagon and DOD that encouraged sexual activity between children, kept porn in the libraries, tortured children for bad behavior, and bought a gun for a kid who committed suicide and harbored a satanic cult. Here's an excerpt supporting that. Here is not an excerpt, a clipping. I keep mixing those two up. It's a Senate unit told of child abuse in Florida school. So here's, kind of stuff backing it up. Some underlined things in here. Pentagon funded Florida school for disturbed youngsters. Enormous vitamin overdoses, which I know that has a lot of correspondences to like Scientology and how they're niacin, how they like try to convince people. It's not this weird psychological trick they do where they find ways to do what are simple biological things and associate them with like other more profound concepts. So for example, like something like a niacin rush. Like if you give someone a ton of niacin and then their face floods red and they feel itchy and That's nice and Rush. But Scientology has been known for using that to, I forget how they use it, but they'll be like, oh, if it the rush, essentially they say the rush is like to clear impurities, or I forget what the fuck it, but it's like, no, that's just a normal biological reaction to a flooding of a certain thing. But anyways, point being is it's misrepresented in many, in many, I don't know, things like Scientology, cults, other things that may want to, I don't know, mislead people. It also says here, one student committed suicide with a gun that von Hilsheimer had permitted him to buy, and then another ex-student was beaten to death by members of a satanic cult led by students still in the school. I remember on the gun one, I'm pretty sure they actually tried billing the parents for the gun later, which is wild. And on the person who was murdered, it was Michael Cochran. He's a Green Valley student whose statements formed the basis of the raid, the raid that happened earlier, was found tortured and murdered in April 1973. Ken Francis, a member of a satanic cult in Daytona Beach, was convicted in Cochran's murder. So literally a satanic cult in that area, which they all admitted to. There were multiple members, and like from my understanding, like the crux of the court case was a lot about like between a couple different cult members and who actually really did it, and like, you know, one tried to be like, oh, I was just trying to, you know, I was trying to essentially go around along with the crowd. I didn't really want to do it type shit. And anyways, that gets in the weeds. But just so that's a thing going on here too. A lot of shit going on. And then, she goes, Dana says, that Ronald Nowicki cited earlier, he was the headmaster. So Ronald Nowicki, keep going. The cult, the one that tortured Michael, the one that tortured Michael Corcoran to death in April 1973. So she shared a few excerpts. We're not going to read that. When GVH testified, the hearings included another school ran by him in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Was he working with the SDS Weatherman Underground? Who knows? So I guess on those, the SDS may have had stuff going on in Michigan as well. So here we go here. Let's look through this. All right. I'm not going to read this whole article. So, cursed from birth, GVH allegedly told William S. Burroughs that he founded the school so he could get laid, not William. Which, by the way, William S. Burroughs, I believe, was the son of was William S. Burroughs Jr. Maybe I wasn't clear on this earlier, but this is one of the notable things about this place is the child of William S. Burroughs, the author. His son, Junior, was put here, essentially, while William S. Burroughs was on his different travels for all his books and stuff. He had a kid stateside that was just kind of basically being ignored and thrown into some weird-ass school, because I guess he was a kid at a little bit of a penchant for getting in trouble, so I guess he wrote a book about a lot of this, and yeah. Anyways, so this is him talking about, talking to the headmaster. So here you go. It says, when I got back from Alaska, I was feeling healthy, responsible, and vastly sexual. I was now among the elite of the school, and especially among the girls. I was fucking regularly, wantonly, joyfully. A young man's fantasy, the absolute run of the harem. 4 girls on my couch staring at me every night, my choice. The Reverend George von Hilsheimer, who conned some millionaire into buying an old Spanish monastery in Orange City and starting Green Valley there, said to me, God damn it, Burroughs, I founded this place so I could get laid, not you. Bear in mind, this is a school. George was large, loud, lusty, but compassionate and driven by an uncontrollable hatred of ignorance. A marvelous man, a warrior. Keep in mind, this is from the perspective of William S. Burroughs. I guess he liked him. Among the girls one night was Karen. She didn't sit on the couch and come hither me, though. No, she sat in the closet with sunglasses on. She was 17 and I was 20. I was hooked. She was timid in bed at first, but Jesus God. Okay, so even then, that's 17, 20. I guess it's a little bit more whatever. But even that, you can already see we're in a gray territories here. When the first time came for to leave school, she didn't think twice and decided to marry. As long as we loved each other, we thought all will go well. Amen. All right, I don't think there's anything more substantive in there, but just obviously the one line there about that he talked to the headmaster, and that's he was saying he's trying to get laid, so that's why he started that school. From Speed, Kentucky Hand, the Reverend is quoted as saying, kill the parents and move the kids 3,000 miles. So it makes you wonder what happened at he and Paul Krasner's camp. So the Reverend never lost his license, this despite buying a gun for a student at Green Valley who later used that gun to commit suicide. He's recognized as a pioneer in biofeedback techniques, trauma reduction, and his obituary paints a much lighter picture than the dark reality of George von Hilsheimer. So you can see his, here's his, when did he die? He died back in, all right, I'm trying to see if I can see the date on there. All right, whatever. You can see the photo on here. It's a George von Hilsheimer, PhD. Yep, never lost his license. It's kind of wild to be involved in all of this, and nothing seemingly came of any of it. I'm not going to read it all for you. Want us to wonder how far back the relationship between Paul Krasner and Reverend John Hilsheimer goes, and if Krasner was in on it at all along. It says, stay anointed, y'all, is what she says. Let's read this last article maybe to kind of finish this off. Let me see. Maybe not. No, I'm not going to read this one. Either way, here's a photo of Krasner, and I don't know if maybe that's supposed to be somebody else there. Who is that supposed to be? But it's definitely Krasner in the photo, so I don't know what she's driving at in that one, to be honest. But either way, this is does seem to connect all together, does it not? This is I felt pretty annoyed after kind of like thinking about these things all together. I've been really, and then to kind of bring it to the today, here's J.D. Vance identifying himself as part of the post-liberal right and saying there is no meaningful distinction between the public and the private. Let's hear him say it.
On the right, on the sort of the post-liberal right or the new right, or however we want to define what it is, this sort of hodgepodge of people and ideologies that have sort of collected themselves here today. I think that we are really, really kidding ourselves about the weight of the challenge. And when we talk about changing the regime, which is in fact a word that I myself have used before, I agree with Patrick, and I think we have to be clear-eyed about how difficult it is. And let me just illustrate this with one particular issue. One of the hangovers, one of the really bad hangovers from that sort of uniparty that Patrick Deneen talked about is this idea that there is this extremely strong division between the public sector and the private sector. You know, the public sector, there's the necessary evil of government. We want to limit it as much as possible because to the extent that we don't limit it, it's going to do a lot of terrible things. And then you have the private sector, sort of that which comes from spontaneous order. It's organic. It's very Burkean, and we want to let people sort of do as much free exchange within that realm as possible. And in the reality of politics, as I've seen it practiced, the way that lobbyists interact with bureaucrats, interact with corporations, there is no meaningful distinction between the public and the private sector in the American regime. It is all fused together. It is all melded together. And it is all, in my view, very much aligned against the people who I represent in the state of Ohio.
Well, obviously, he's kind of making the point of how they are unified, but I do think there's obviously a little bit of a flip side to this. I'll be honest, I didn't watch this clip before, so I was a little bit thinking maybe there's a different way to take it. And yeah, I guess this is sort of being portrayed, but at the very least, there's irony here. Even if you are saying that he's like, oh, well, the public and the private are being worked in concert against us, it's like, well, then okay. Well, it's just there's a laughable irony here, considering who we have, J.D. Vance, his rise to power and everything that comes around that, the companies of Peter Thiel and the degree in which they very much gray the lines of public and private. And I can't help but feel like to some extent that feels like a little bit of what he's driving at as well, which, I remember when he was on, Theo Vaughn's show, that was one of his answers, was essentially kind of like, essentially the point was like, it was basically, well, what's the meaningful distinction between the public and the private sector in the American regime anyways? So it was basically the same exact thing as what he's saying now. And I do think it's worthwhile to notice. And I do think some people have made a guff about him calling himself post-liberal right. I don't know what to make of that, because I don't know to what degree I would think about be too upset about. Now, I would say, I guess technically, I think post-liberal means what you're against, like the conception of rights and stuff. Although I don't know, you get overly, I don't know, not pedantic, semantic, I guess, when you can come to labels. I don't know if I put too much into him identifying him as post-liberal, because I could see me calling myself a post-liberal in some way and being like, and that means a good thing, or I could say it and that means a bad. There's different ways I can interpret what post-liberal might mean. If you say you're of the post-liberal right, does that mean you don't agree in the conception of like property rights, or I don't know, like what does that mean? Like you're just like willy-nilly. I don't know. I need someone to explain it before I get too upset. Although I did see some people get upset, but I just find it ironic, considering especially the couple threads we just read, the blurring of the public-private, and this. Here's another example of another of the blurring of the public-private. Here's Stu Peters, who was having a little bit of fun with Grok. Says, hey, Grok, does Ghislaine Maxwell have any siblings currently or in the past that work for the U.S. government, specifically the intel community? If yes, detail the positions they've held. Any ties to Israel, any perceived conflicts of interest this revelation could hold. Grok says, yes, Ghislaine Maxwell has siblings with U.S. intel ties. Ghislaine Maxwell co-founded Gilead, providing data mining software to the FBI's counterterrorism warehouse post 9/11, enabling searches across agencies like CIA and NSA. Isabel Maxwell led Israeli firms ComTouch and iCognito with board roles at Perez Center for Peace in Israel Venture Network. Ties to Israel, Isabel's role in Israeli Texas security. Family patriarch Robert Maxwell's allegedly worked for Mossad. Says conflicts or surveillance tech access amid Ghislaine's Epstein-linked conviction raises questions of data misuse, foreign influence, and blackmail networks. And this is me. I'm surprised Grok didn't feel the need to add this in. I guess I'm not that surprised. And then if you add in the other component of one of the probably the thing that I'd say Robert Maxwell's probably most notorious for so far in the realm of scandals was the Promise scandal, which was in the early days of this tech stuff. This was in the early days databases. Essentially what it was the one of the first programs that enabled, I guess, databases to be able to speak to each other. It was essentially like some sort of filtering program. The idea being like, if I was looking for a Venezuelan man that was 5'2", the idea was that you could use certain keywords or something, which is really kind of the building bones of like things like Google and such, if you really think about it. But it was specifically amongst like government databases, like I think it was actually like initially being used as some sort of like court filing system or something. But anyways, but essentially Robert Maxwell was able to get a hold of this the thing, and essentially there was like a back door on these to where somehow they were able to access information, and so essentially giving anyone the Promise software, which the big thing was Robert Maxwell then I guess went and sold it to all sorts of foreign nations and companies and this and that. Selling on how useful it was, what a revolutionary technology it was, and I guess it kind of was the time. Meanwhile, there was this back door in it that, essentially for every person that received this thing was also essentially a Trojan horse of sorts. It was a back door. It was essentially, hey, Israel's now part of your operations. Congrats. That's what it was. And then, meanwhile, then he spawns all these little demons that come out of his balls. Like Ghislaine and much of his other Isabel and some of these other broads, and they all seem to have these other fucking tech companies and have weird intel connections and government connections. The blurring of the public and the private. That's what we have here, my friends. All right, guys, let's roll the chat. It has been a minute since I checked in with you guys. Let's see what you guys got to say, and then probably get out of here pretty shortly. All right. Chat says, what are we covering? Should I start from the beginning? I guess Tommy left us for a minute, came back. All right. Let's scroll through. So here we go. Rise to Liberty says the SDS, Weather Underground were basically CIA cutouts. Radical Marxist-Leninist ideology being pushed, spreading, or including the spread of drug use and free love. Says Dana points out the connection between these groups in the process when they both spent time in Germany, which just so happens to be a very spooky, glowing country, says Jacob. Says no difference between public and private. What the fuck? I guess there's no difference between dry and wet or free and enslaved. Just don't exist. What a pinko commie bastard. I'm a post-liberal in the sense I want to nail liberals to post, says Eddie Grimm. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, it's like, how do you define it? Because even then, like, what do you mean by post? Because does it mean you've completely abandoned all the tenets of that belief system, like, entirely? Is that what you mean by it? Or you've developed some sort of elevated conception or something? Or which means you just have some different nuanced position. And by liberal, what do you mean by liberal? Because that can mean, the modern conception of liberal. That can mean classical liberal. And even then, I think there's other, understandings of what you can mean of liberal, even in a political sense. So it's incredibly vague, which I saw a lot of people were upset about. That's the only reason. But yeah, I'm not so quick to jump on the train of shitting on someone for calling themselves a post-liberal. Like, I really don't know when someone says they're post-liberal. I don't know what that means, really. I really don't. Like, I'm like, I don't know if that means I should be like, oh, cool, or what a faggot. I don't know. Tom says, to me, post-liberal means what's considered right-wing after this last wave of liberalism in the last couple decades. Perhaps. Boomer Sooners, Israel's known for creating a lot of profitable tech businesses and selling them to America. They sure are. All right, here's something else from that escaped me recently. This is a big one, I think. This is our boy Donny here talking on Operation Warp Speed. Let's see what he has to say.
You were the driving force behind Operation Warp Speed, these mRNA vaccines that are the gold standard.
Right.
Now your health secretary is pulling back all the funding for research. He's saying that the risks outweigh the benefits, which puts him at odds with
Research
the
on
entire
what?
medical community and with you. What is going on?
Research on what?
Into mRNA vaccines.
Well, we're going to look at that. We're talking about it, and they're doing a very good job. And, that is a pass. With Operation Warp Speed was, whether you're Republican or Democrat, considered one of the most incredible things ever done in this country. The efficiency, the way it was done, the distribution, everything about it has been amazing. But, that was now a long time ago, and we're on to other things. But we are speaking about it. We have meetings about it tomorrow at 12 o'clock, and we'll determine. We're looking for other answers to other problems, to other sicknesses and diseases, and I think we're doing really well. Yes, ma'am, please.
All right, so that's him lauding Operation Warp Speed, which I guess is nothing new. It's just, hey, here's another example of him once again. I guess like I said, this is exactly what I expected. All right, to finish this show off, I guess kind of on a fun little note, here's Alan Dershowitz getting shit. Apparently, he went to Martha's Vineyard recently, tried to get a pierogi, is my understanding. They refused him. I think he came back later or something. He made this whole big grift session out of this and try to make it this and very much kept trying to be really flip things to anti-Semitism. From my understanding, the people here literally, their reasoning was Epstein stuff, and I believe even the genocide. It was I don't want to serve you. And this is actually a pretty lefty area, so he actually got some grief for misgendering someone, and then it was funny too. He keeps throwing around these accusations of anti-Semitism, which I don't know if they'll go into this video, but from my understanding, damn near everyone he accused of being anti-Semitic were I think basically all fucking Jews that were just no, we're just not cool with raping kids or genocide. And they were so yeah, it's just a fun one. Let's watch this together. Maybe it'll brighten your day.
I ask you to sell me pierogi in the interest of keeping the island together so we don't have two pierogi stands, one for anti-Zionists and one for people who will sell to everybody. So I'd ask you to please just sell me any one of your products to show that you're prepared to sell to anybody and not allow your anti-Zionism to decide which people will sell, will sell to.
Ethan, this man is calling me an anti-Zionist.
Excuse me, this man is a saint. Mm-hmm. I also offer you this book, which
thank you.
I signed it to you. To Krem, please learn the truth.
Thank you so much, Alan.
You know why?
Thank you so much. I'm very surprised that you're here because of the things that you've been saying about us and the business.
No, just you. Yeah.
Online.
Yeah.
Well, good pierogi is our business, and Krem Miskevich is me. And I really do not appreciate what you've been sharing in the last week since. Is it true?
Oh, of course.
You have proof that I am an anti-Semite?
Yeah, you protested the Jewish Culture Festival last year, which had nothing to do with Israel or Zionism. It was just Jewish.
By the way, this thing he tried to claim, I guess literally even the people who ran whatever this meeting was later, I guess commented on this and said no, they were perfectly polite and they were just I think they were I don't know if they were necessarily protesting the event. I think they just knew it was an event that there were probably going to be a lot of people at, and let's be real, particularly a demographic you're trying to reach, which is American Jews, because would be hey, let's be real. Those are the people that a lot of them are probably the great. Like those are the people you would want to reach. So I don't know. That's my understanding, and even the person who arranged the whatever the specific cultural thing, I guess, even waited on it. Was like, no, we saw them there. They were perfectly polite. They were fine.
Jewish food, Jewish music, Jewish art, and you protested it, and the rabbi said that was an anti-Semitic act. Do you disagree with that?
I do disagree with that.
You think it's okay to protest Jewish cultural events and not be called an anti-Semite?
Thank you.
My vendor, my vendor just called me over.
Excuse me,
and
what
let me
this
know
man
that
is
a word that
saying.
you used made them
What
feel a
this
little
man is
uncomfortable.
saying.
Anti-Semite.
No.
That's what they
What
just
this
mentioned.
man is
Anti-Zionist and
protest Jews at all.
And they just let me know that made them feel uncomfortable. So if there's anything I can do to help complete this transaction,
I offer you this book.
So my pronouns are they, them, and you know about this, that my pronouns are they, them, and you continue to misgender me.
You know, I use them all the time.
No, you just called me him, so
Well,
please stop
people
lying.
have slips of the tongue.
To be fair, I really even feel bad. I feel stupid even saying this, but it's funny watching him being hemmed up on this. But it is like, I guess he's calling this lady him, and they want to be called they. So they're like, I actually feel like he was trying to be polite in that way. Like, at least in that way particularly. I think he's being obviously insufferable cunt altogether. Because, once again, I think this is the thing that, like, this little ordeal we're seeing right now, I think it was like days later from the original, hey, no, you don't get a pierogi. And he had to make this whole crusade and make it like a civil rights, race grifting thing. And no one's just having it. They're like, fuck off. So, yeah, anyways.
You are they, you are them. I'm happy to use whatever pronouns you want. This is not about that. This is about you protesting a Jewish event.
No.
You did?
No.
Did you protest the Jewish event? You won't answer that question?
Alan, I want to introduce myself.
Hi, I'm Alan.
I'm Talia.
All right, that's enough of that. It's you guys get the crux of it. But either way, it's just cool to see. Hopefully we see more. So I like it. I like this. It's just funny. It's just also just this slimy fuck. He's just such a fucking detestable piece of shit. Just ugh. I know Dersh was just so gross. It's like but yeah, it's just funny seeing. It's just cool seeing this sort of thing. It's a little bit of it's like it's like that scene at the end of the first Spider-Man movie where like the whole town of like New York comes and like helps. And that's what this feels like. Like, oh, hell yeah, that's right. Yeah, fuck you, Dershowitz. That's what it feels like. Everybody coming together and it just to say, fuck you, Dershowitz. All right, let's roll through the chat and we'll get on out of here. Boom, boom, boom. How can we make the most possible money off a disaster? Says Tyrannosaurus Chris. So yeah. I know what you're talking about here. Jacob. Let me see. So some of the top tech businesses sold to America were created to people out of a once top secret group from the Israeli military. What was it, like 8 units? What was it, like Unit 8200 or something like that? Yeah, you're correct, Boomer Sooner. That is a thing. There's a very specific like tech Israeli agency that we get a lot of weird shit from. And yeah. Let me see. All right. Well, I think that's it. You guys having I see some other small talk in there, talking about foreskins and stuff. That's always fun. All right, guys. I think we're going to get out of here. Appreciate you all joining me today. If you guys want to support what I'm doing over here, leave a like, share, subscribe. You can comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. Follow me on Twitter at TowerGangOSA. Those are all steps you can do that don't cost you a dime. Take very, very little time. Ooh, that rhymes. Yeah, they help me out a lot here. So I would appreciate it if you would do that. I understand it if you don't want to contribute money. I try not to be a beggar, but if you do feel like you get value out of this show, I do feel like I do try my best to give you back the couple bucks in value that you give me. The lowest level is $2 a week, and at that level, I give you guys access to usually 1 to 2 early episodes a week of the paywalled episodes. Usually keep about 4 of those behind the paywall at any given time. So that's weeks of paywall content. You also get access to the ad-free RSS feed. You also get access to the Telegram. You get access to the pre-show and priority for the call-ins on me and Austin's weekly live call-in show on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Already dead. Also, at the highest level, those are my sponsors, and I give them a big shout out every at the end of every episode as a big thank you to them and their support for the show. I have my previous co-host on Tower Gang, at Learn to Toad, also at Abrogate D's, at ZOVRECK, at _InfantZeal, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebold, Will Bell has Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine, Big Fan of the Show, Torn May, at Wayne Taculus, and Not Masad. Help a brother out, boost this shit up. I do think they are pulling some shenanigans with me these days, so help me out here. And with that, guys, let's go on and get out of here. Say goodbye to everybody. Goodbye, Terry Gang NBC. Good night. Goodbye, Eddie Graham. Goodbye, Elaine Big Guy. Goodbye, Adrian Brody. Goodbye, everybody. Tommy says, I already pay you. I'm not listening to plugs. It's fine. Don't listen to plugs. But you get this nice little outro. Maybe you stuck around for that. I finally caught one of these dildo WNBA situations, and it is hilarious. I'd heard murmurings about it, and I didn't really understand it. I still don't understand the full context of what's going on here, but for your outro today, here's a fun little clip in this realm. So I'll see you guys probably Monday if I don't pick up a shift. I don't know. Love you all. See you all soon. Bye-bye.
About a 10-0 start in the third quarter. This guy had 3 quick turnovers. Chicago started this game so strong, Lisa. Remember they started out on that 12-3 run. About a 10-0.
All right, and that wasn't for the audio listeners. That was a dildo. Everything got all awkward and weird because someone threw a dildo on the floor. All right, see you all next time. Love you all. Bye-bye.